everyone. Welcome into Duval Daily. I'm Jack McFaul. I hope everyone's having a good one. As our Jacksonville Jaguars win in dominant fashion against the Los Angeles Chargers. It's funny what a week can do, as just 1 week ago, the Jags suffered the worst loss in franchise history and left so many question marks and concerns and worries with the team. Now they're coming off the most complete and commanding win that I can think of, in the past, and they've now put themselves right back in the mix of teams with a legit shot at making the playoffs. Coach Cohen said after the loss against Houston, and I'm paraphrasing, that the team was ticked off and they were ready to bounce back. They weren't happy with their performance, and they knew they had to be better. And as Jaguar fans, I think we all kind of respected that he was saying it, but knew that we'd heard that song and dance so many times in the past. And the only thing that would make it mean something and show that he meant it is if the team came out the next game and showed it. I mean, if they played well and showed it, and they did that in a pretty big way, I would say. I think that the way the team played, specifically in offense, is exactly what the staff envisioned when they first got here. When Coach Cohen first took the job, which is a physical, disciplined team that can run the ball at will and use multiple pieces and skill sets in the passing attack to their advantage. Sunday, especially in the second half, was the first time this season that seemingly everything that the offense and defense, for that matter, touched turned to gold. And it's a feeling that the team needs to capture and encapsulate and chase after. And it's a feeling that us fans would have no problem getting used to, I don't think. So thank you so much for being here. Let's dive into what contributed to this big win on Sunday. So first off, I want to talk, and I kind of have to talk as I always talk about it, the discipline that the team has had issues with, and how they displayed it this past week. Every week I harp on the self-inflicted errors like penalties and drops, and this was the first time all season that they were not only under control but completely non-existent. No drops, no offensive penalties against the Chargers, and I really think that speaks to the preparation throughout the week and the sense of urgency that was presumably talked about throughout the week after that disaster in Houston. And look, I think a lot of things can contribute to losses for football teams, and you can go into depth about so many things. But for the Jaguars, when it comes to what has hurt them the most, I think it really is just as simple as the preparation and executing, the execution. Play the sport correctly and it'll solve itself. And look, no self-inflicted wounds, and you put up 35 against a very good defense and a very good team that has played well and was coming off a big win the week prior. It was actually such a breath of fresh air watching the offense drive down the field time after time without going backwards a single time, which uh, is such a change. I mean, they've just all year it feels like it's been two steps forward, one step back every drive. You know what I mean? They'll have a big play, false start, hold, whatever, drop, and that didn't happen on Sunday. And look what happened. And I think, yeah, I mean, it speaks levels to the preparation throughout the week and how the staff made the players respond. I mean, the staff did not have a good game on Sunday. Obviously, the players didn't have a good game on Sunday. They needed to make a change and play better, and they did, which brings us directly to the offense and how they played. Now, usually I go into specifics about the offensive operation, what they did well and not well, but this week there isn't a single thing they didn't do well. Um, Before talking a little bit more in depth, let me just read off some of these stats. 47 carries for 192 yards and four touchdowns, 30 first downs, 345 total yards, no penalties, no drops, two QB hits, and zero sacks. That right there tells the story of how you bounce back from an embarrassing loss. Everything worked, everyone played well, even the guys that are playing due to injury, like a guy like Cole Van Lannon, who is and has been such an unsung hero of this team since they traded for him because he can play every position on the line and he does a great job every single time he's thrown out there. So yeah, I mean, little shout out to him. He's a good player. He's a player that you need on a successful team. A guy that is a backup, but when someone gets hurt, he immediately can get thrown in, and you can rely on him to at least do his job, right? Um, and yeah, I mean, to me, I think the offensive line is the biggest story and reason why the offense played so well. They created so many opportunities in the run game for Tootin and ETN, who are both such weapons for this offense. It was great seeing Tootin have the best game of his young career. He runs so hard. I mean, he really just he puts his head down and is not scared of contact. And then when he is out in space, that 4.3 speed that he showed at the combine really shows. I think that if he, keeps getting touches like that, he will break a long one sooner rather than later. He was really close on Sunday. He was kind of tackled by his ankles, and if he wasn't, I mean, he was gone. So yeah, I mean, the line was just dominant. They completely out physical the Chargers from the start. Trevor played his best half of the season in the second half, and really, I mean, he played a great game apart from the one interception. Um, but in that second half, he was surgical with the placement and timing of his throws against that zone defense. He looked phenomenal, and a lot of that is him locking in and his receivers actually doing their job, of course. But I also think a lot of it is thanks to the line playing the best game of the season and really one of the better performances in Trevor's career for an offensive line, I think. So yeah, great situation, great bounce back. Definitely something to build on. Obviously, realistically, you're not going to dominate like that every week, right? But having that tape out there now and seeing how it works and how it can work and building off of that is going to be massive, obviously, as they try to make a push. Now, looking at the defense, I think it's a really similar story where just absolutely everything was executed. A few stats for the defense here: 42 yards given up on the ground, 93 net passing yards with 3 sacks, 8 first downs, 1 turnover, and 18 total pressures. Um, Again, just domination, and I keep using that word, but it's really the only way to describe it. The Chargers could not do anything productive all day, and it was against a defense that not only gave up a 19-point lead to a backup quarterback 7 days before, but also had some pretty significant injuries in the secondary that obviously affected what they wanted to do, and it did not seem to matter really at all. After Newsom went down early, you're down to your third safety, you're down to a backup safety, you're down your top safety with Eric Murray probably, and your top three corners are down with Jordan Lewis, Greg Newsom, and obviously Travis Hunter. So you have guys like Jarian Jones, who's played great, and Christian Braswell was out there on Sunday, and he was making plays, which is all you can ask for. Um, Now, the pass rush needed to look alive this week against a terrible offensive line, and they did. They looked good, which I mean, they had the upper hand and they took advantage of it. So I don't want to throw them too much praise. They did what they had to do. They did what they were supposed to do, right? But um, it was still like it was so nice all game to see them rush like that and to see Josh and Trayvon, rush the passer together, the way we kind of expect them to, and they really haven't much this season. And Trayvon's been hurt, but still, they rush and they shrink the pocket from the outsides. And then you have guys like Eric Armstead, who's played great, push it back from the front and kind of just like swallows the quarterback. And they did it all game. Did it all game, excuse me. Heinz Allen finally broke the sack record on a great rush. I'm sure he and all of us kind of expected it to be broken maybe a little earlier in the season, but he got there and he did it. So shout out to him. And I think maybe my favorite storyline coming out of this game is BJ Green and Danny Strigo and what they were able to do and what they might be able to bring this defense down the stretch. The staff made Emmanuel Ogbah a healthy scratch in favor of those two rookies. And in that game alone, they had a bigger impact than Ogbah's probably had all season. Emmanuel Ogbah has he was signed to be that productive enough edge depth that they need, and he has not been all season. He's been pretty awful, unfortunately. Um, so they said enough, and they made him inactive, and they had these two rookies go, and Strigo was fourth on the team in pressures and had half a sack with I think it was with Trayvon. Um, and then BJ Green had that crushing hit, that crushing sack on Herbert that was called for roughing, which I think it was a soft call, but different conversation. But yeah, I mean, if those two guys can be as productive as they were as those fourth and fifth rushers behind Hines Allen, Walker, and probably Smoot, it'd be so massive considering the total disappearance of any pass rush whenever those top two guys are not on the field. And they've dealt with it all season. And that good edge depth is something that I feel like has been an issue for years at this point, never properly been addressed. So hopefully those two, UDFAs can provide that now, finally provide something. Now, finally, I love to talk about special teams. I do, but there's actually nothing to talk about. No field goals and no punts the entire game. First time the Jaguars haven't punted into games since 2010, which is crazy. I was 5 years old. Nuts. And the team had some fun with that, as I'm sure everyone saw with the picture of Trevor, Russ, and Logan holding up zeros to represent the zero punts. Yeah, I love Logan, but he plays a position that if you see his face, it means something isn't going right. You know what I mean? They're punting. So I don't mind keeping him on the sideline as much as possible, obviously. So yeah, Cardinals are up next. Jacoby Brissett has looked pretty great, to be honest, since he stepped in as the starter. And those backup quarterbacks have killed the Jags all season. Davis Mills, Jake Browning killed two losses right there. So it's a little scary, but we'll have to wait and see. There'll obviously be coverage leading up to the game. The Jags should have reinforcements on the way on the injury front. Hopefully, you can see Brenton Strange back, Brian Thomas back, Jordan Lewis back, at least, those three. Uh, three start and Anton Harrison as well. Those are four big starters that would obviously be welcomed back with very open arms, especially Brenton Strange. He's been out for it feels like forever. And his skill set is so unique and so important to the offense. So yeah, big statement win for the squad. The shift in the attitude around this team from just a week ago is pretty hilarious. It's such a great feeling to hear a Jaguars coach talk about how angry they are after a loss, and then actually go out and show it. It was a big moment for Coach Cohen in his young career, and hopefully this, you know, dismantling win over the Chargers can boost the team and, keep them playing at this high level, which is what they need if they want to make a push. They're holding a wild card spot right now over the Chiefs. I think we all expect the Chiefs to win some games, so the Jags are going to have to keep it up. This is a big win, big moment, but gotta keep the foot on the gas. So thank you all for tuning in. Enjoy the victory week. It's definitely a sweet one, especially after last week. And yeah, go Jags.